What happens when a feeling you never planned quietly changes everything?
会いたかったよ。向井くん久しぶり。
This story isn't about blame or judgment. It's about awareness, boundaries, and how easily silence can grow into something heavier than words. Mukai is someone many people would find familiar. He has a steady life, a routine that feels safe, and a girlfriend he genuinely cares about. Their relationship isn't traumatic or perfect, but it's calm, supportive, and built on time. For Mukai, that sense of stability feels like proof that things are going well. Nothing seems missing, and nothing feels urgent enough to question. Then, almost casually, Momo enters the picture. She's not a stranger, and that's part of what makes everything feel so normal. Momo is his girlfriend's best friend, someone already woven into the fabric of their lives. They meet during a simple, unplanned moment, no expectations, no intention, just conversation. It starts with small talk, shared laughs, and stories exchanged without any hidden meaning. At least, that's what Mukai tells himself. What draws him in isn't attraction in the usual sense. It's the ease. Momo listens in a way that feels present. She responds with warmth, with understanding, with a kind of attention that makes time pass unnoticed. Their conversations stretch a little longer than expected. They find common ground in ordinary things: music, food, quiet frustrations about life. Nothing dramatic happens, and that's exactly why it feels safe. Mukai notices something shifting, but it's subtle, almost invisible. He begins to look forward to these conversations more than he should. He tells himself it's harmless, that friendships can exist without meaning anything more. After all, he hasn't done anything wrong. There are no secrets, no crossed lines, just moments that feel lighter than the rest of his day. Still, somewhere deep inside, a quiet tension begins to form. It shows up in the pauses between thoughts, in the way he replays conversations long after they end. Mukai senses that something is changing, even if he doesn't want to name it. A part of him understands that feelings don't always arrive loudly. Sometimes they grow quietly, disguised as comfort. And that's the unsettling part. There's no clear warning sign, no dramatic turning point yet, just a growing awareness that some doors, once opened, are harder to close. Mukai stands at the beginning of that realization, unaware of how much weight those harmless moments may soon carry, and how important it is to recognize a boundary before it fades. Those quiet moments begin to settle into Mukai's routine more deeply than he expected. There's no sudden shift, no dramatic event that forces him to stop and question everything. Instead, it's the comfort that becomes dangerous. Conversations with Momo start to feel effortless, almost like a pause button on the rest of his life. When he's with her, time seems to move differently, slower, softer, less demanding. Mukai tells himself he's simply enjoying good company. After all, Momo is kind, thoughtful, and familiar. She never asks for anything, never pushes for more. That subtle restraint makes everything feel even safer. There's no reason to be on guard, no obvious line being crossed. And yet, somewhere between shared laughter and long silences, Mukai feels himself leaning in emotionally, even if he doesn't say it out loud. When his girlfriend is away, Sawa doesn't feel lonely, but unsteady. The quiet creates space he doesn't know how to fill. He spends more time with Momo, sharing walks, simple meals, and conversations that drift into dreams and doubts. Everything feels natural, calm, and quietly comforting, and that's what unsettles him most. At night, he replays small moments, questioning feelings he hasn't acted on but can't ignore. The guilt lingers, reminding him that emotions still carry weight, even without actions. Momo remains warm and unaware, making it harder to step back without explanation. Mukai realizes the conflict isn't between people, but within himself, between comfort and integrity. And the longer he avoids that truth, the heavier the choice becomes. The tension Sawa has been avoiding finally settles into something he can no longer ignore. It shows up in small, quiet ways. He hesitates before replying to messages. He catches himself choosing words more carefully than necessary. The emotional weight he's been carrying begins to affect how present he is everywhere else. Even moments that once felt simple now come with a sense of unease. Mukai realizes that doing nothing is no longer neutral. The silence he believed was protecting everyone has started to shape him into someone he doesn't recognize. He hasn't broken trust through action, but he feels how close he has come to breaking it within himself. That realization is sobering. It forces him to confront a truth he's been avoiding. Boundaries aren't only crossed through visible behavior, but through intentions left unchecked. Mukai realizes that responsibility means choosing clarity over comfort. Kindness without boundaries can blur important lines. With quiet resolve, he steps back, aligning his actions with his values. He learns that emotions aren't the problem, ignoring them is. True maturity is protecting trust before fleeting comfort becomes lasting regret. Sometimes the hardest choices are not about love, but about responsibility. What defines us is not what we feel, but how we choose to act. If you enjoy meaningful stories with real-life lessons, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications.